Musica. Hello vinyl community, VC. This one word is a reference to a movie I used to watch a lot when I was a young man, over 2 decades ago. And I thought to lift your spirits up, I will include this little movie scene into the video. Let's hope it won't get blocked, so enjoy.
Tarsian, sou aquele Joe doutor.
Ô, doutorinho, vai quedar matando ele de problema que a gente não são 10.
Aí entra.
E da cabine, já, nema, vai.
Znači, natrmavi še te pije.
Solo, pare capia, te žene zbere. I na te capia, pare.
Ovo je bolnica! Ovdje nema sviranja!
Doktorko, jer ćemo više ovako.
Šta mislite kako bi izgledalo kada bi svi dovodili muziku kada izlaze iz bolnice?
Doktorko, nemate nikako pravo da se ljuti. Nikako. Malo pažnje.
So this was from the movie Black Cat, White Cat by the Serbo-Croatian director Emir Kusturica, a movie made in 1998. And it's a movie with a lot of cool music in it, mostly Roma, gypsy music. Here this is the soundtrack. But the director himself, Emir Kusturica, he had a band that is called Emir Kusturica and the No Smoking Orchestra. This is their album Unza Time. And the music is exactly as you probably imagine, sort of highly alcoholic gypsy sound with rough edges. But I hope you are all fine and you get along with the whole situation. I imagine for everyone it's a bit different. And I must confess that for me personally, this has not been very impactful. I'm not denying that this could change in some way, but I guess it has to do with my lifestyle that is kind of paying off within this current situation. And I mean, what I mean by that is that I had been working from home since 2001 and or 2002, and and also I'm a bit of a loner and cocooner, so this is kind of a lifestyle I've been practicing for the last 15 or 16 years. So usually I meet like 5 people per year. So a lockdown was not particularly impactful for me because nothing really changed within my daily routine. And obviously here in Germany there is all kind of complications regarding shopping and acquiring food and stuff like that, but it can be done. And actually one becomes a little bit more thoughtful about the stuff you're buying, because it's kind of less no, it's not difficult to buy stuff here, but it's all a little bit more complicated, so you think twice before going to the supermarket. So it's kind of, you always prepare the whole enterprise a little better, and so you don't need to do this for the next 2 or 3 weeks. But that doesn't mean that this could not change somehow. I mean, I could run out of money, for example, and that would probably complicate things. It doesn't look that way now, but yeah. So I really sympathize with those whose life has become more complicated or difficult because the current situation is very much contrary to their usual daily life as it has been before. And I can imagine that for some this can't be easy. Despite it being a kind of a fortune cookie wisdom, there is the necessity to for everyone individually to try to find out what the positives can be that one can extract from a situation like that. And usually unfortunate situations can have a positive aspect to them. One just have to make the effort to kind of discover it, to find out what to do about it. And yeah, I mean, let's put it that way. There might be people that have been in dire need to start to do something about their body, for example, to do yoga or something, and never done that because they always said, yes, but I'm so busy always, and I really need to lose some weight and really need to help with my back pain, and but I never get around it. It's just too much job-related stuff. Too much time passes by, and when the day's over, I'm just too tired, and I wish. Well, in a strange way, a situation like this for many people kind of removes excuses out of the way, so there can be a million things that actually can be accomplished in this strange time. When everything has become kind of a standstill and nothing is particularly moving. But I'm not taking anything away from all the tragedies that obviously have already appeared. I'm pretty sure when this is all over, and no one can really say how long this is gonna take, there will be almost everybody who has someone in the family or in the group of people she or he knows that has suffered from this, that maybe even has died or has been sick. So yeah, those are certainly weird, difficult, complicated times and testing times, I think. Testing because I believe that those are the times when people and societies find out how much they can rely on their politicians and on their governments, and how much they can trust them. Now, the general gist usually is that you can't trust them at all, but that is most of the times, at least in the world I'm living, a form of hyperbole. But the problem is, in those good days when everything seems to be running and well, and the economical machine is operating more or less to all our benefits, in those times we take it for granted that a large part of our politicians is crummy and maybe corrupt and not trustworthy, or representing ideological ideas that we do not share, and it's all part of a big theater that we kind of enjoy, and at the late night news, and it all seems so harmless. But then the good times are over, and suddenly the dark times appear, and that's the moment when this kind of theater of politics become heartfelt reality for each and everyone. And so there are certainly a lot of countries in the world where I would not want to experience this pandemic right now. And I'm not going to name those countries because probably a lot of people get pissed off at me. And I just don't need the agita. But it's probably not the worst time to be in Germany right now, honestly. The way how the society here is handling it is quite mature. And we do experience occasional weird moments outside with people being a little bit overburdened by the whole situation, and some people not knowing how to behave. But honestly, the other upside for me, where I'm just lucky, is that 5 or 6 years ago I've moved to the countryside, which I did not because I'm so crazy about the rural life and the songs from the woods, to quote Jethro Tull, but it has more to do with the fact that prior to that I've lived 20 years in Munich, which has constantly become unaffordable because very high rents, and this was like an escape into exile, self-chosen exile. And so here in the village, the things happening around the world kind of don't matter that much. So we are not running with masks here because it is a rather empty space. I mean, I'm passing by a couple of farmers every day when I go out with the dog, and they are like 20 steps away from me, so it would not make sense to run around with a mask here. We have some masks now in our household because, of course, we have to drive into bigger cities to buy food. But generally speaking, if you live here, it's a win situation in times like that. Now, I'm not being any sarcastic about it, but here's the thing: I've always held the shorter end of the stick in my hands my entire life. I was never willing to make big careers. I wanted to exist in a world of arts, in all these spheres where you can't make much money. So I've always chosen the less profitable path. And so this is part of my everyday reality for the last 30 years, to be just a person that gets to hear from his friends how the holidays on Hawaii or on Thailand or wherever, how it was, and how traveling is great, and how buying you the new stereo system by Bankt and Olufsen, how this is great. And I'm not envious about it, because I know that I chose my steps in my life. I have made my decisions, and I have intentionally always decided to go against the grain of monetarism and earning the big bucks and be part of the consumer society. So, but obviously, in the world that I have been living the last decades, I always kind of felt like a pauper. And that's all right. I still made enough money to afford a couple of thousand records. But the thing is, once in a while, you can feel like I feel for 10 years, and everybody around you is driving in expensive cars and flying to Milano or Hamburg or Amsterdam just to join a party or something. But once in a while, suddenly the cards turn. The table turns in the game, and suddenly everybody is kind of complaining and whining about hardships, and you look around and say, yeah, but my life has not changed at all, because my life has always been like that. So there is no lesson to be taught here. This is just the result, the incidental result of my life's choices, my decisions. And it was exactly the same in 2008 when the big crash happened. Do you remember the biggest financial disaster in the world? This was just, yeah, this was the same year when Barack Obama took all these people that caused this giant disaster and made them part of his cabinet. Do you remember that? Yeah, so this was a time when a lot of my friends who were kind of IT people and had money in all kind of enterprises and businesses, and everybody was always saying, "Oh, you're so stupid. You don't. You must put money into some certificates. You need to make something out of the money you earn. You need to invest, and you need to be more speculative. This is the spirits of the time." And I was always like, "Oh, I don't care. Leave me alone. I want to watch Star Trek." So, yeah, then everything exploded around me and they were all running around in complete hysteria and depression. And I was like, yeah, what changed? Nothing changed for me. So, right now it's a bit similar, but it's a very different situation. This is a life and death situation. And I'm fully aware of the fact that while things may be not very painful for me personally, you never know, things can change. They can change because something within this well-oiled little lifestyle machine that I've created around myself in the last years, there can suddenly appear some flaw, something broken, some broken component, and suddenly my life can look very different. I thought that like a week ago I really had a sort of a bad stomach for 3 days. I never had that before. Maybe a sign of age or something. But because I'm a bit of a hypochondriac, I always run my mind through all these horrible sicknesses and illnesses I already believed to have at that moment. But it just went away. And I guess it's just the result of the fact that I'm Czech, from Czech Republic, and we have all people in Czechia have the tendency to eat very fast. This is really a neurosis. This is a collective neurosis of a nation. I mean, if you go out with some people and one of them is from Czechia, like at that moment when you have tasted the first sip of your wine and kind of had a look at your plate and maybe put little pepper and salt on your plate, that's the moment when the Czech guy will be finished with his food and like look around and say, oh, I'm already done. Oh, I'm sorry. So that's kind of me. We eat like that. Well, it's not very healthy, and I try to kind of learn to eat differently and more in an Asian style. And one trick I'm practicing is I always try to eat with small spoons and small forks. So I take like a dessert fork and a kind of teaspoon and eat normal dinner with that, which looks completely ridiculous, but it helps me to eat less fast. God, I'm really blathering right now. Is this a corona-related phenomenon? I don't know. I also heard that it's not very popular if people on VC are blathering about politics and stuff beyond the musical sphere, unless you are Derek Higgins, of course. This is kind of the exception to the rule. But I don't know. I just thought I will try to practice a little my broken English and kind of just talk and exercise a little bit this ad-libbing. This is always my problem with YouTube videos. I'm so bad at ad-libbing. If I could, I would just script everything. But of course, nobody's really interested in scripted videos. Unless it's something beautiful like documentary or something. But if you script too much, people get bored because they don't feel sort of this vibe of authenticity. So, for example, I have to learn to just leave the mistakes in and just to own them. So if I say something wrong or stuff like that. So, but what about talking about music and records? Are you still interested after this? So usually I show records that I have been listening to in the last days before I put them back on the shelf. And let's start with a really big name and someone that can make you dance in your apartment during the lockdown. And that's Mr. Isaac Hayes and his Groovathon album, which is of course very, very cool and quite an amazing show of musicianship. It's not only a very funky album as you would expect, it actually shows a lot of a rather soft and soulful side that Isaac Hayes had, and that's kind of cool too. So this is a nice original issue that came out on ABC Records, but it has this poster in it. It's a really huge poster. So you could theoretically, I will not unfold it entirely. But what do you think about posters in records? Because many albums have posters, but I think particularly if you're a collector of sorts, you would kind of never separate the poster from the record. And even if this would be a great poster to put it on the wall. But every time I would see the poster, I would kind of think, yeah, but this is wrong. Because the poster belongs here to the record. So this certainly defies the purpose. So this is a gatefold sleeve. It's a very dark record, so it's probably not the best one for such a video. But great sound and obviously a legendary artist. This album came out, I think, 1976. Yes, it was 1976. Yeah, Cosmic Slop. How Cosmic Slop, Funkadelic. I don't think I need to say much about this record because probably 90% of all serious people in VC know this from their heart. Yeah, a lot of great stuff. Bernie Worrell, George Clinton production. So I gave this a listen just 2 days ago in the morning. It's certainly a cool way to kickstart the brain and to wake up. Yeah, this one I have shown this like probably 2 years ago. This is Bambadea by Leroy. This is an album from Munich. This came out on Chamonix Records. It's a label in Munich. This is a beautiful, kind of dreamy album that you can play any time of the day. It's a nice companion while you work, or you can also kind of dive into it and listen to all these intricate sampling ideas. So this is some form of down-tempo music, I would say. It's interesting because it kind of combines two emotions. On the one hand, it's very uplifting and it's kind of a down-tempo album for the summer. It has sort of this slightly exotic vacation type of vibe, but at the same time, there is a strong sense of melancholy and yearning in this album, and that makes it quite interesting. So very enjoyable. I keep listening to this every few months, and this is the kind of a cool album. This is the music that you probably can hear in a lot of cafes in Munich and around Munich. This is a good sort of coffee house music, and like if you date someone, that's kind of perfect soundtrack in the background. So this is Bambadea by Leroy. And yeah, now let's get to some new stuff I've been listening to in the last weeks. Some very amazing stuff. So first of all, this is Sauropoda by Leclerc. Leclerc is a band from Geneva in Switzerland. This is their third album. incredible stuff. This is a 6-piece that plays kind of a jazzy Afrobeat and funk, but strongly mixed with psychedelic rock. And I think this record should also be available in the US because while it has been released on Bongo Joe here in Switzerland in Europe, it has also been released on a label called Beyond is Beyond Records. That's really a thing. There's really a label that's called Beyond is Beyond Records. I'm not making this up. This is a great vibe. I love this album. So this here is the Bongo Joe edition. It's an amazing vibe. The keyboard player has a lot of fun here and it's very groovy. In parts it has this kind of new sound that you keep hearing a lot these days, you know, from Dutch bands like Jungle by Night or in America from Kruang Bin. Kind of psychedelic, but also like something you would hear somewhere on a trip in Southeast Asia maybe. Yin Yin, I've shown their record a while ago, is certainly a band that falls into that category. So, category, it's not like catheter, it's like category. So this is the kind of album you can always hear when you're running track or working, tidying the apartment, occasionally, whatever. So great record, Sauropoda by Leclerc. It's an instrumental album and great sound. Now in the same vein is the next album, and this is quite a zinger. This is Aldoum and the Farids and their record Spirit Rejoin. This is an amazing jazz fusion album from a band which is from Italy, from Milano. This is psychedelic rock merged with jazz funk with an exciting layer of Hindustani music. So there is occasionally this strange sort of Hindu vibe, and that's woven into the sound. It's quite incredible. I mean, the front cover is kind of ambigram, so you can turn it around and it still kind of makes sense. Well, that alone is amazing. So if you take one thing from this video I'm making here right now, then check out this band. The album is on Bandcamp. Aldoum and the Farids. It's really an excellent record, particularly if you are kind of interested in all these new forms of jazz and psychedelic rock that keep happening these days. The next band is quite established in the Netherlands for many years now. I'm talking about Jungle by Night, and this is their first album, Hidden. It's probably their second album, but the first album was like an EP, probably like 20 minutes long. This is the first sort of full album, a double album to be precise, with a really great cover design. It's all quite adventurous. Now this is like Netherlands' best Afrobeat outfit. I mean, this band is really on fire. They are famous for their hilarious concerts. This is like a 10-piece or 12-piece. I don't even know how many people are playing in that band. And it's quite amazing to see them live. They're really kind of exploding. But it's not just Afrobeat in itself. It's always music that keeps expanding to all kind of directions and experimenting with new formats. So it's always a bit surprising. So you never know what comes next with that music, and it's obviously very rhythmical. Now in the middle of the project you have a brass 3-piece made of saxophone, trumpet and a trombone. The trombone is played by Ko Zandvliet, who is kind of the band leader probably. And he's a very charismatic guy, particularly when they are playing live. He's kind of the MC of the band, and a great trombone player. And yeah, I mean, this band is a very young band. This is also something that's kind of interesting for me because, I mean, I've spent my entire life collecting music by people that were significantly older than me. And even if I look at me being a teenager in the 80s and getting into Depeche Mode and Deutsch-Amerikanische Freundschaft and The Cure, still those were guys that were like 10 years older than me. So if we went to the same school, I would just be kind of a small rookie when they're kind of just leaving the school. So in that sense, it's interesting how my entire musical perception, as long as I've lived, has been formed by people that are basically always older than me. But this is changing now because I am getting older, so I'm kind of getting used to the fact that suddenly I'm listening to all these bands that are really exciting and amazing, but when I look at the photos and kind of dwell a little bit into the band's history, you suddenly realize, oh my god, they're like kids. Like, I mean, Jungle by Night, there's hardly anyone over 30, I think. Well, maybe now slowly, because I mean they're around since 2000, maybe 8 or 10. But if you look at the kind of when they recorded this album, which was I think 2012, they were really young. I mean, they're really young. So you have a great rhythm section here. That is Sonny Grönewald and Gino Grönewald. The one on drums, the other one on percussions, and Gino Grönewald also is the percussionist of Altengün. I've shown 2 Altengün records in some of my last videos, so if you are interested to discover Jungle by Night, it's a pretty cool band from the Netherlands. Afrobeat with all kind of electronic experiments and great keyboard parts, great bass playing, and an exciting brass section in the middle of the whole mayhem. So that's Hidden by Jungle by Night. This came out on Kindred Spirits, Dutch label, I think. Yeah, great record. And finally, this one I got only a few days ago because this was released like last week. This is the new record by the Mauskowitz Dance Band, and it's called, it's got a weird name, it's called Shay Dance Hall. I mean, the cover is totally questionable, honestly. It's like... somebody was really not in the right mind when he was designing that, but on the other hand, it surely sticks out. Now this is the third record by the Mauskowitz Dance Band. The first one being an EP, the second one an album. This is kind of an album, I would say, even though it's kind of EP-ish. It's like 35 minutes long, but the interesting part is it has only 4 songs on the A side. And the B-side has the same 4 songs, just heavily remixed. And it's a cool continuation of the Mauskowitz sound, which is this quite exciting mixture of South American rhythms and sort of no-wave, early 80s aesthetic, kind of post-punk type of music. I mean, they experiment a lot with very old original effect machines that they find somewhere. I mean, the first track was a little bit surprised because I mean you hear a certain kind of a hiss in the mix that you have not heard for quite a while, and that is very much reminiscent how back in the day just basically every tape sounded that you recorded at home, and you kind of hear it here, and I just thought, oh wow, they're really going crazy now, but I guess this is intention. They probably used some kind of a very old-fashioned effect machine and just trying to achieve something. So this is a good record. I just heard it only once, so I cannot just say that much about it. It's as usual. It's very rhythmical. It has this strange. Lo-fi vocals that are this kind of a trademark of the Mauskowitz Dance Band. So yeah, I will be listening to this some more in the next days, and then I can maybe report some more. So this was quite a lot of talking and probably ill-advised, but I thought just, hey, what the hell? I probably should try some free floating in front of the camera just as an exercise and to shake loose my slightly calcified mind. So that was my video and the records I've been listening to. I will do this soon again, I guess, because I'm really listening to a lot of amazing music right now. Music that is old and music that's very new. All kind of bands filled with far too young people. And so I will keep you informed. And have a nice day and goodbye.